Friends, do you know that hypertension or high blood pressure is predictable, preventable, treatable, and to a large extent reversible? Let us talk about corona and hypertension. Yesterday, that is 17th of May, it was the World Hypertension Day, and this week is going to be the World Hypertension Week. This coronavirus has a great affinity to comorbid diseases, of which hypertension stands at number 1. The incidence of hypertension or high blood pressure is rising exponentially all over this country. Presently, it has been estimated that 25% of the urban population and 10% of the rural population suffers from hypertension. Apart from its genetic predisposition or hereditary factor, hypertension or high blood pressure is essentially a lifestyle disorder, and you can certainly prevent it, predict it, treat it, and reverse it to a large extent. Now, this blood pressure or high blood pressure essentially falls into two types. Primary hypertension, of which 95% of the people suffer from primary hypertension, and 5% of people have secondary hypertension. In secondary hypertension, there is some other cause. A cause may be like something in the heart like aortic stenosis, or maybe coarctation of aorta, or maybe a renal artery stenosis or kidney disorder, or a tumor into the suprarenal area or the adrenal glands, or so many other reasons. Primary hypertension is a lifestyle agony. You got to find out what is the cause, because there is not a single cause. It is a multifactorial disease due to bad lifestyle, bad food habits, lack of exercise, excess tobacco, lot of alcohol, and most important today amongst the younger population is excess screen time. Spending too many hours in front of a screen. It may be a mobile, it could be a laptop, or it could be a television. Now, excess screen time causes a lot of biochemical changes in your body. Like there is an increase in oxygen-free radicals called as OFRs. When these oxygen-free radicals increase, they cause a lot of problems. They are detrimental to health. It can cause dyslipidemia, that is abnormal lipid profile, wherein the bad cholesterol will go up, the good cholesterol goes down, the triglycerides go up, and by the by there could be endothelial dysfunction and vasculitis, causing ultimately ending with hypertension. I come across a lot of youngsters in the age group of 25 to 45 having blood pressure. Now, this blood pressure presents in different forms. First is some people have what is called as a persistent hypertension. That is, you take any reading, at any time the blood pressure is on the higher side. They have no symptoms, but the reading shows hypertension. Some people have labile hypertension, that the blood pressure goes up and down. It may be high in the morning, maybe normal in the afternoon, and again a little rise in the evenings. So that is labile hypertension. The third type is what is called as the white coat hypertension, in which whenever a patient comes to a doctor or in a medical institution, the blood pressure goes up. So that is white coated. In such cases, we make the patient lie down, give him rest, let him relax, and then monitor his blood pressure. And the fourth type is called as the mask hypertension, or also called as out of office hypertension. In such cases, the blood pressure is normal in the clinic or in a medical institution. But the moment the patient goes outside this area where he feels insecure, and the blood pressure is on the higher side. So these are the four types of presentation. Now, when do you say that a patient has hypertension, or how do you diagnose it? Now, there are various guidelines coming from various associations, like maybe American Heart Association or American College of Cardiology or European Society of Cardiology or the JNC guidelines, the America's Joint National Committee guidelines. So there are many guidelines given by various associations with minor differences here and there related to age, sex, and etc. But to remember or to make it easy, I would tell you that the blood pressure between 120/70 to 130/80 is normal. So you don't have to worry. Pressure between 130 systolic and diastolic 180 to 140 systolic and 90 diastolic is a sort of early or mild hypertension, or you could also call this pre-hypertension. In such cases, we do not start medication, but we make predominant lifestyle modification or lifestyle changes. Then you have further rise between 140/90 to 160/100, that is stage 1 hypertension. Then 160/100 to 180/110 is moderate or stage 2 hypertension, and anything above 180 systolic and 110 diastolic is severe or stage 3 hypertension. This is the way we categorize hypertension. Now when a patient comes and we find out that he has a higher blood pressure, or he says that during his annual checkup or pre-employment checkup he had some spike of hypertension and things like that, the best investigation to do is to do an ambulatory blood pressure monitoring, in which a blood pressure measuring device is attached to your arm, which measures blood pressure continuously at particular fixed intervals. During the time of wakefulness, like say 16 hours, the blood pressure is monitored every 15 minutes, and at night every 2 hours, and we get a complete recording. So we do ambulatory blood pressure monitoring maybe 24 hours, maybe 48 hours, and we get a complete picture. It is all recorded on a chip. We study that, and then we come to know and establish the diagnosis that he has blood pressure. Then medicines are started if the pressure reading is above 140/90 in most of the situations or during the day. Then a small dose of medication is given. There are plenty of medicines available for blood pressure monitoring, starting from mild diuretics, beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, ACE inhibitors, then you have ARBs, and so on and so forth. Now the decision of the drug management is based on the physician's or the doctor's experience, the certain guidelines that are given, and the tolerance of the medicine to the patient. So according to that, we start with medication. The most sad part today is, I see a lot of youngsters coming in. We prescribe medicines to them. They will go buy medicines for about a week's time. Then the next thing they will do is go on their laptop and consult Dr. Google. They find out the various side effects, the various actions of these medications, and they will take medicines for 7 to 10 days and take the reading, and then they find that the blood pressure is normal. And at that moment, they would stop taking medications completely. Now they are worried about the side effects and things like that. And I have found some of these youngsters landing into complications due to high blood pressure. And what are these complications? Like sudden hemorrhage in the brain, the artery in the brain bursting, and there is blood spilling into the brain, causing paralysis, stroke, and going into coma. Or there could be cardiac failure, or there could be kidney failure. These things we hear quite a lot nowadays. Well, so these medicines prescribed by a specialist are to a very, very large extent safe, because not taking medicines is more dangerous than taking medicines, mind you. The next thing is lifestyle modification. Now, when I say lifestyle modification, the first important thing is salt restriction. Now, when I tell some people about salt restriction, some of them are very sensitive. They will completely stop salt in their diet. Now, taking no salt at all, or taking excess salt, both are dangerous to the heart. It is something like a J type of curve. So complete stoppage of sodium or salt is not indicated. So what you should do is, you got to take sodium of 1500 milligrams to 2000 milligrams, or 1.5 grams to 2 grams of sodium in 24 hours. Now 1 teaspoonful, a flat teaspoonful of salt will have around 6 grams of salt. Now in salt, sodium is about 40%. So 1 teaspoonful will have something around 2.5 grams of sodium. Now it is recommended that you should take 1500 to 2 grams. So you should take somewhere about half a teaspoonful of salt in 24 hours if you want to control your blood pressure itself, because just so sodium restriction itself has helped a lot in control of blood pressure. This is number one. The next thing is diet regulation. Go in for a lot of green leafy vegetables and fruits, sprouted grains, have good breakfast, a little less on lunch, and dinner should be still less. Avoid all red meat, avoid non-vegetarian food, especially chicken, mutton, pork, beef. These should not be consumed at all. You can have eggs and you can have fish. When it comes to eggs, do not consume more than 12 eggs in a week. So that's about diet. When it comes to exercise, which is very, very important, it should be a combination of aerobic exercise. Now when I say aerobic, you can either do anti-gravity walking, or you can run on the treadmill and do LISS exercise, say for about 15 to 20 minutes and maintain that heart rate for 20 minutes. Or you can do a HIIT exercise like 4-1-4-1-4, 14 minutes of HIIT, 4 minutes at a lesser speed, 1 minute very rapidly, again 4, again 1, again 4. So you can do those. After that comes yogasanas. You must perform certain basic yoga postures which will normalize your hormones, your thyroid, etc. Now complex asanas should be avoided, and especially before performing certain asanas you must check your blood pressure. If you are on the higher side, you should avoid complex yogasanas. Then pranayam is very important. After pranayam comes some strength exercises, then muscle building, or what is called as the isotonic or isometric exercises. They are very important to decrease the insulin resistance so that your sugar levels also remain low, because higher sugar levels can add to another problem, and it can actually keep your pressure still on the higher side. So sugars are also to be well maintained. So this total package of exercise is very important. Just going for a simple walk may not give you the desired results. Next, if you are a smoker or tobacco chewer, you must stop it completely. Tobacco in any form is dangerous and hazardous for health, mind you. Next comes alcohol. Alcohol also should be stopped completely. Recent research on alcohol has proven beyond doubt that even small quantities of alcohol can affect your heart, its contractility, and it is really not good. So that's the next thing. Stress management is very important. I've got this. This is a stress buster ball, just to bust your stress. Well, there are exercises which are relaxation exercises, some forms of meditation. But I strongly recommend doing yoga nidra at least once in a day, ideally 2 times in a day, for 20 minutes each. You can watch my video on YouTube on yoga nidra and follow the instructions, and it will benefit you immensely. Very soon, the doctors will have to stop your medication, reduce it, and you will be normotensive. I can assure you. So these are all just a glimpse eye view, a few important tips to tell you about the importance of hypertension and its management. on the eve of this World Hypertension Day. So today, with this World Hypertension Week, we take a vow, we take an oath that from now on, I will check my blood pressure regularly, get the essential investigations advised by the doctor, especially like 2D echo, carotid intimal media thickness, certain blood tests like HSCRP, lipid profile, thyroid, vitamin D, and maybe sonography to see for the kidneys, renal artery Dopplers. These are some of the important tests to know about primary and secondary hypertension. So these tests should be performed at regular intervals as per the advice of the treating physician. So take this vow and conquer this disease, and let not Corona come and attack you by any chance. So thank you very much, and we'll meet again on some other topic. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.